Hi everyone, how you doing? Krista Mashore here. I'm super excited. We have got Doug Sandler. He's here. This is going to be fun. So I was just on Doug's podcast. So if you want to know exactly how you can start dominating your local area via podcasts, well, Doug Sandler is, and not even locally, but this works for any type of business or professional or entrepreneur. Yep. This will work for you. Are you wanting a kickstart on your business? And you want to learn how to be the go-to professional in your industry? Well, guess what? I've got a free challenge for you. It's 5 days of coaching. It's brand new. Just go to KristaMashore.com/client conversion. That's KristaMashore.com/client conversion. And you'll get a free training with me for 5 straight days. That's going to help kickstart you as the go-to professional in your industry. So sign up and I'll see you there. So Doug, welcome. Talk to us a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Krista, thank you for having me here. So very excited. Timing could be any better for the podcasting space. Everybody's got a lot of time. They're sitting around their house and they're trying to figure out, okay, what is my next step in not only creating authority, but how about building a community and how about making money? So community, influence, and money are 3 big tools that that really fine tune you into the podcasting space. I'm excited to talk about them today with you.
Yes. So listen, here's the thing. I know that many people, they don't understand the power of a podcast, right? And they're afraid. And so I really want to kind of talk about the benefits of a podcast, number one, but then I would like to talk about people's fears. I know based upon teaching people how to utilize Facebook to dominate their area, they don't know what to say and they're afraid what people are going to think and they don't know what to talk about. So I want to kind of go over all of those concerns if we can.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's hit the big one right in the face. Oh my God, technology. I don't know how I'm going to handle technology. And let me tell you, I've used the same microphone, literally the same microphone for the last 5.5 years and 1,100 episodes. It was a $150 investment plus this little arm thing, another $100. Plug and play right into the USB port. It is not a challenge for that. So one of the big fears was definitely technology. Also things like, I don't have a personality or don't really think that I'm going to be like an entertainer. I don't think I can do this. And I have to tell you, you don't really want to be an entertainer. You can be an entertainer, but you want your guests to shine, especially if you have an interview-based show. So you actually being third grade curious is a much better way to approach this than being somebody that's got an outgoing personality. Some people also say things like, I don't have a big community. Actually, you're more relatable the smaller community that you have, because in the beginning, just like we talked about this, Krista, you're going to suck. You're going to be really bad. So you imagine having 1 million people in your audience and you suck. I'd rather suck in front of 3 people and earn my way up to getting 5, 50, 100, 200, 1,000 people in my audience. So those 3 are some big challenges that people have to get over. And it's really that headspace, that whole thing of how am I going to find time? Where am I going to put this into my schedule? I have 1 million other things I'm trying to jam into it. And I would have to tell you, the reality of every time I open up this microphone, and I can talk about the monetization side in a moment, but every time I open up this microphone, if I have the capability to make 10 grand every single time I open up this microphone, it's not that I don't have time. I'm not willing to prioritize my time because I'm thinking this is a time suck. This thing is going to pull my life away from me and I'll never be able to gain control. And I would tell you, if I make 10 grand every time I open up this microphone, I'm going to think about podcasting from a whole different perspective than, man, this is just going to suck all of my time away from my schedule.
Well, and everybody has the exact same amount of time, right? And so one thing is we need to learn how do we start managing our time better. And there's definitely techniques and skills and strategies around that. One of them is called the Pomodoro technique. So if you haven't heard of it, research it, because you'll save 16 hours a week just by utilizing the Pomodoro technique. But we all have the same amount of time. But people need to learn to adjust their behavior and insert certain disciplines into their life to have a different type of a future. Right now, Doug, I think that people are making life changes now. People are losing their jobs and they're really, because of what's happening with COVID in the world, they're noticing things differently. They're really becoming to the reality and the realization of, is this all there is? And can I do more? And there's such of a great time to be able to really make that change. One more thing I want to say, a lot of people think that you have to be extroverted, right? Like, oh, Krista, you just make it look easy because you're an extrovert. I will tell you, I am an extrovert, but you can be an introvert and absolutely enthusiastic about your product and your service and yourself, right? And I don't know if you know this, but according to Forbes, 64% of people will make a buying decision based upon seeing a video. Tell me about that with podcasting, because with podcasting, your audience is developing a relationship with you. They're getting to know you. They're listening to you like while they're getting ready in the car. They don't have to watch the video. So talk about what is that psychology and the stats around podcasting and developing a relationship with your community?
So there's a couple ways that you can podcast, and certainly I don't want to detract anything away from the video component that you can add to podcast. You can absolutely do a podcast, strip out as a video, strip out the audio, and that could become an audio podcast for you. Keep in mind that oftentimes when you're on video, you're using visual elements. You're going to say something like, let me see this, or let me demonstrate this, or let me show you, or do you see how that works? And you're actually demonstrating something. So you have to be aware of that when you're doing an audio podcast. But as an audio recording, you are literally right in someone's ear, and you're in a really personal space with them because they don't have the ability to become distracted by video. And it's not like, hey, that Doug, man, that looks like he's got a 5 o'clock shadow, or man, that T-shirt that he's wearing, that's a funny color of green, and all of those things, the background stuff that's going on around, all of that stuff, while they are visually pleasing, they are distractions when it comes to the audio component. Like I'm distracted by the 4 Two Comma Club awards that you have behind you, because I'm like so in all of them. And so sometimes my brain is pulled in that direction and I don't have the ability to focus on your audio. That being said, when you're in audio, man, you're right in somebody's ear and they're driving, and they're focused on you. Yes, they're focused on the road also, but they're focused on you and the words that are coming out of your mouth. And it is a great, great medium to share your message, your expertise, and your skill set with your audience and your potential customers to be.
I listen to podcasts all the time. This morning, I listened to a podcast in the shower. I listened to it while I was getting ready. And then I rewound the parts that I like to hit that little 30-second button, 15 times, because I really wanted it to sink in, right? And I love podcasting. And, recently I had somebody say, well, nobody's watching in the beginning, Krista, no one's listening. So how do you combat that? Because the average person stops before they ever see the success. So they don't see the success right away and they stop. How do we overcome that?
So keep in mind that audio, very similar to something like Netflix, is on demand. No one's going to bump into my podcast. They're actually going to come to my podcast because I have driven them to my podcast, whether it's through Facebook advertising or lead generation, or they've gotten referred by somebody else to come to my podcast. When somebody tunes into my podcast, they are going to listen on average to 80% of the content that I am creating. So if I create a 30-minute episode, they're listening on average to 24 minutes of that 30 minutes, because they are literally taking their time, their schedule, and their power of the point, and they're clicking on, yes, I want the Nice Guys on Business podcast, and yes, I want the BizWiz podcast, and yes, I want SetX and all the other shows that I host, because they come to me.
Multiple podcasts.
Oh my gosh, yes, because each one applies to or appeals to a slightly different segment of my market. And instead of having the Nice Guys on Business, keep in mind it's a really general Nice Guys on Business. It deals with entrepreneurs. I have a show called, based upon a car I have, Ford Mustang, the early years. I only talk about 64.5 to 66 Mustangs. Now, my entrepreneurial audience does not want to hear that message about my Mustang.
But so how does the Mustang podcast help you in business? Relate that, because I want people to understand that there's so many different messages and podcast topics that they can do it on based upon what they specialize in their skill set.
Oh my gosh.
How it relates to business.
This is the best part of this whole thing. The deeper you niche, the closer, the more finite that you can determine who your market is, the better you're doing. So that show, while it may only get 500 to 750 downloads per episode, the people that are listening to that episode or those podcasts, that podcast specifically, they are so in tune to the 64.5 to 66 market that no matter what I would put in front of them, if I put, hey, subscribe to this magazine, hey, click on this lead magnet, hey, I want you to get a 20% discount at CJ Pony Parts, which is an advertiser on the show. So if I do that kind of stuff, they are so going to take advantage of it. If I were to go to take that same message to a much larger entrepreneurial audience, not just the Mustang message, but let's say that I have an accounting message that I'm sharing on my entrepreneurial show, only a small segment of my audience is actually going to be tuned into that accounting message. So the deeper, the tighter that you can get with your market, the more you're going to be able to sell to a smaller audience. Imagine having 50 people in a room every week listening to a message specifically designed for that specific market. That would be
What
a
are
killer.
You selling though to the Mustang people like that? Not relating that to business.
So in that particular case, there could be things like it could be a part, it could be a magazine, it could be merch, it could be a ticket to an event that's coming up. We just did an event called Mustangs on a Mission, and we sold tickets to go to a car show. It was a virtual car show. We had nearly 400 people register for a virtual car show at $20 a piece to go to the show.
Yeah.
Now, 100% of that money was used to go to cancer research. It was not used to go to line our pockets. That show for me is a passion show. That show for me is my give back to a community that I love. My business show, oh, you better believe it's game on when it comes to wanting to market to my business people, because that's the reality of what I do. I'm a podcast producer and I want people to launch podcasts. So I put podcast services into their hands.
So let's talk about, so for the audience that's listening and watching, I want you to kind of help them relate. Like, what could they do a podcast on? Like, give me like 10 examples for the average person. Somebody that maybe anyways. So I know a lot of people in life, they hate where they're at. They don't like their job. They're miserable where they're at. They're working for somebody else. They feel like they're just kind of stuck. I'll never forget the story. One of my best friends, I was at her house and her husband was talking about how much he hated his job. And she said, don't worry, honey, you only have 15 years left. And then
oh my God.
And I about like died. I was like, that is like a lifetime, 15 years, right? So my point is there's so many people out there that are like that just feel like they're stuck, right? How can somebody take a skill set that they are good at? Help me work this through some people. The skills that they're good at, how can they take this skill set, turn it into a podcast, and then monetize it?
Perfect. And I love it. And the beauty of podcasting is that I don't even want you to create a product before you actually understand what your market wants. Why create and go to all this effort of creating a business around something that nobody wants? So I would say the first thing I would do is, what is it that you're passionate about? What is it that you love doing? If you're a coach right now and you love the idea of talking online marketing, then obviously that's a good connection to start talking online marketing. But before you create a product in the online marketing space, pull your audience and find out what they want. Well, I don't have anybody in my audience. Well, you will have 2, 3, 4, 5 people in the first couple of episodes. I know you will. So it could be in fitness. It could be in medicine. It could be mental health. It could be on sexuality. It could be on alternative fitness. It could be on alternative health. It could be on anything that drives you, that makes you put your feet on the ground in the morning and say, man, I get to talk about my Ford Mustang. Now, I took a subject that potentially couldn't do anything. And I'm like, now I have 500 to 750 people every week that listen to me talk about Ford Mustangs. And that's been, for the last year and a couple of months. Any subject, there's even podcasts on funeral directors, that tell them about the embalming methods and the way to better their practices. There's podcasts on chiropractic. There's podcasts on knee surgery. There's a podcast, any subject that you can mention and think about, go to Google and type in the subject. So let's say Ford Mustang podcast, and you'll discover that there probably are 30 podcasts just on Mustangs. And anything that you think about, you can create a podcast
around. Something that you love. So something you love would be a good place to start. Something that you're good at. But even if you're good at something, if you don't love it, maybe it's not the best subject, but something that you love doing that you're passionate about. It also could be a major problem you've gone through. So let's just say you've had a major crisis in your life or a major problem that you've gone through, and you found ways to kind of get through that crisis or that problem in a way that can help other people. That's a great way to start a podcast. And
love it.
Happen, everyone, right? What's going to happen is that and I love what you said, Doug, about don't develop the product first until you know what your audience wants. Meaning, you start this podcast, you start talking, you start developing a relationship with your community, and then you start to realize what it is that they need. And then you are going to solve the problem to meet the need, right? How do you solve the problems? How do you become the part of the solution? And that's where you can start monetizing.
So the beauty of what Krista does, and this is what she is so good at, and this is how she can share with you what she does, how to turn your magic into mojo. You create a call to action on your podcast. That means you want your audience who is anonymous to step one step closer to you. You develop a landing page that goes to a lead magnet. The landing page excites them about what you have. The lead magnet delivers them the item that you say that you're going to deliver to them. And then you can see if people are interested in that. I can go through that process 100 times and experiment with my audience to see what they like. I could say, hey, you want to learn about the 5 ways to make money podcasting? Just go to turnkeypodcast.com/money. They go to that landing page.
So you're going to go to say it again. Find out more about wonderful Doug's product on how to do a podcast. He's got He's got an amazing offer and we've got an amazing audience. And listen, I want to say this is that I've been doing this podcast for only a year. So I did my podcast, Fired Up with Krista Mashore, last August. So it's been only 13 months. When
Right.
we first launched, we had no one listening. In fact, I was like,
Nobody.
why am I doing this podcast? No one's listening. Now we have around 25,000 downloads a month.
Every month.
Right? In just a year. And I'm just like everyone that's listening. I just started. No one knew who I was. And it's just a matter of getting the message out there. Now we're on the top 75 entrepreneurial podcasts on Apple. And a year ago, I would never have thought that. And so it has absolutely helped people get to know me. You can be the exact same way, but you've got to start. And Doug has the exact system on how to do that.
Totally cool. And I just want to say this because I want to really be 100% clear to those that are in your community, Krista. They're looking at you and they're saying, I could never do that because I can't do what Krista does. And I'm going to say this, bull crap.
I agree.
Do not compare where Krista is in the middle to where you are in the beginning. She was saying right where you were. She was right where you were 13 months ago. 5.5 years ago, now we have 4 million downloads of our podcast. Before we started, we had 7 downloads on our first handful of episodes. 7 downloads. Tell me I didn't want to quit. But you know what? I knew there was something better, something that was richer, and something that would help me build influence, grow my community, and make money. Because I was all about in the beginning, I got to figure out how to make money. It took us 17 months to figure out the formula to make money. And now we've turned on the faucet and we're sharing that faucet with other people. We're doing a masterclass on Monday. Thank you for helping me promote this. We're doing a masterclass on Monday, and you are welcome to come to it. It's either Monday or Tuesday. Both of them are going to be live, and let's make it really easy for you. It's turnkeypodcast.com/Krista, Krista. Just go to Krista, turnkeypodcast.com/Krista. You can register for that. Krista, you are welcome to check it out also. And I'm telling you, those that are in your community, this is a place to be if you want to grow community, build your influence, or to make money podcasting. We're going to share all of our secrets. Yes, we are going to invite you to join us. So there is going to be a pitch involved. They don't want you to be, oh my God, he's selling me something. Look, it's going to be a lot of content first, and then I'm going to offer to invite you in, and you are welcome to join us. And if you just want to steal the info from me and go do it through Google, do it, please. But turnkeypodcast.com/Krista.
So Turnkey Podcast, say it again.
That's all right. Turnkeypodcast.com/Krista.
Okay. So does it teach you how to, monetize your podcast? Is that a part of it? So it's going to teach you how to start the podcast, how to do that, but does it also teach you how to monetize the podcast?
That is the biggest thing that holds people back. And we want to bear our secrets on Monday and Tuesday, because one of the things that people are always saying is like, I've been podcasting for a year and I'm not making any money. I'm like, okay, can you get your head out of your rear end for a moment and understand that, yes, you can make money podcasting. It's going to require effort. Krista didn't get the 2 Comma Club awards by just sitting on her tail. She did it by working hard.
Yeah, you have to actually implement. I mean, that's the thing. There's so many people and I always end every podcast with this. Hey, learning is great. Everyone says knowledge is power. I say no, implementation is really power. And having the stick to itness to stay with it, because it's hard. And looking at people like you, I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've heard throughout my career, oh, Krista, you're cute. That's why you do well. I'm just like, you just keep thinking that. Well, I just keep kicking your butt because I'm actually working my butt off over here, right? And now I'm like almost 50, so the cute thing is out the door. That no longer exists. And being at 50, it's about working.
Hey, and you can always look at me and just say, well, he's not cute and he's successful. So I'm good with it.
I really admire you. And I love, so he has a podcast, Nice Guys on Business. And I was just on his podcast. Love that podcast. It's such a great show, full of wealth and knowledge for entrepreneurship. And listen, everyone, like right now, I know so many of you are listening and you're thinking, well, I just can't do that. That can't be me. Well, of course you think that because you haven't been taught how, right? But there is so much opportunity right now, right in front of your face for you just to grab. And there's no better time right now during the pandemic, during all this world change, there's no better time than right now for you to grab it. And it's just a matter of having a little bit of an investment, but he's got it free in the beginning. You can learn from him and then go from there as far as you choose to do it more on the end. But I love it. And I'm excited about it.
Thanks, Krista. And we can absolutely get together again at a later date after this masterclass and this full launch is over. And we can actually put together a webinar or a masterclass specifically for your audience. And we can bring you on and you could share your wisdom in the podcasting space as well. I'm sure we could learn a whole bunch of stuff from you while we've been doing it for over 200 podcast launches and courses and everything. We know that we don't know it all. We know enough to have people build community, make money, and grow influence. But man, we could put together a masterclass and we could kill it together. I'd love to see that.
Yeah. So listen, everyone, I am just so stoked to have Doug here. So Doug, one more time before we end, tell them where to find you, about the masterclass that you have to learn about podcasting. And all you have to do is just open your mind and think about attending, right? To see if there might be an opportunity in store for you.
Right.
Having coaching and help is the way to get there. We didn't even talk. Did we do the Change or Die study on this one or on yours?
I think we did the Change or Die on mine.
Okay. So let me explain about the Change or Die, right? So there's a study called the Change or Die study when basically people had a health ailment and they were told that if they didn't change their behavior, they were going to die. After a year, 9 out of 10 people would rather die than change. There was another group that had coaching, accountability, and support. 77% of those people after a year made the change because they had help. You are 7 times more likely to make a change when you have coaching, accountability, and support. Doug is offering that. So if you're worried about not being able to do it, or all those negative things are coming through your head, which we all have. I had the exact same ones. Fear of technology, whatever it might be. No one's going to like me. I don't know. And, a year later, 25,000 downloads a month. So and I'm just like you, and Doug is just like you. We're all the same. It's just a matter of us implementing. So, Doug, one more time where they can find you, and then I want to ask you one more question before we end.
Sure. turnkeypodcast.com/Krista.
Okay.
Couldn't be easier.
Let's end on this. So if you can give one piece of advice, whether it be business or personal, one piece of advice that we can end with, what would it be to our listeners?
Oh yeah, this is an easy one for me. Don't let perfect be the enemy of done. Man, stop trying to be perfect and stop trying to be ready for life to be, I'll start when the kids go to school. I'll start when the bank account is at X amount of dollars. When I get my credit card debt to I'll buy that program when I don't have this debt. I'm like, stop. Just stop, because everything that you're doing is just holding you back. Can you understand that you're upper limiting yourself? Gay Hendricks, The Big Leap. If you haven't read the book, it's a great book to get. Don't let perfect be the enemy of done. Just get moving today.
I love that. Don't let perfect be the enemy of done. So well said. So well said. I always say, just be perfectly imperfect, right?
Yeah.
Because once you start and you hit go, people are always getting ready and they're always aiming, but they never fire. If you fire first, then you learn along the way how you need to adjust, right? And it's so true. And they say, fail forward, because you really truly do. When you fail, you're failing forward. You're still moving and you're learning what to do and not to do. So everyone, I just wanted to say thank you so much for being here. Doug, you've been such a joy. I appreciate you. I know we're going to have a lot of people go to your website. And remember, everyone, knowledge is power, but without implementation, nothing at all will happen. And thank you so much for sharing a little bit of your time. I know it's so precious and valuable, and I appreciate you. And I hope that you are just as fired up as I am. Make it a great day, everyone. Hey there. I have a brand new podcast called Fired Up with Krista Mashore, where I bring my high energy right to your ears. This podcast is available on all your favorite podcast platforms. So do me a favor, go subscribe and leave a review. All this information is free, and I cannot wait to teach you everything I know. Thanks so much for watching my video. You can learn more about how to be a successful real estate professional by watching other videos that I have. And be sure to subscribe to my channel. And as always, make it a great home selling and buying day.